What came into your imagination when you heard that phrase that Jesus said, he took a child and put his arm around the child? What did anything come up in your imagination? In my imagination, what came up was all those soupy pictures of Jesus used to be on the walls of Sunday schools with Jesus with his arms around the kiddies. And Jesus, of course, looks like a Hollywood movie star in those pictures. But if that's the image we got, we've missed the whole point of what he just said. You got to remember, the lowest form of life in the ancient world was a child. Most children, 30%, were dead by 5 years of age. 60% were dead by 16. So you didn't really place your hope and get too much involved with somebody who might not be there next week. You really didn't become accepted by the family until you were old enough to work. Maybe 12, 13, 14, 15. And in an age when people only lived to be about 40, you can see the rationale. I'm sure they love their children. I'm not saying people didn't love children, but they didn't put too much stake in them because they probably would lose out, given the death rate. So the point of Jesus here is not be nice to kids. He's pointing out that the child in his society is the lowest commodity. But he says, you have to receive everyone, even if they're in a lowly position, if you want to be my follower. See, the troops, the 12, the little church, the us of that period, were bickering among themselves as to who was the greatest. Now, we don't do that anymore, of course. We just think we're the greatest most of the time. We're into religion for self. All right? You're into religion because you want to go to heaven, right? But Jesus never talks about that. He talks about, if you want to be like me, if you want to be my disciple, my student, you've got to be like me and take care of the lowly, the have-nots, all the people that society looks down upon. And every time the disciples of Jesus get away from that model, we get into trouble. As a church, which is just another word for all the disciples of Jesus, and personally in our relationship with God, when we get away from that, we've lost the Christian message. I think this present Pope is wonderful because he not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk. He goes, whenever he goes anywhere, even if it's on a big trip like he's on now, he always makes sure to stop somewhere where the down and outers are. In Philly, he's going to be in Philly next week, and my first assignment was chaplain to the Philadelphia prison system a long time ago. And boy, was that a dungeon. But that's where he's going next Sunday, to visit the people who are incarcerated, maybe because they deserve to be incarcerated, maybe because they just happen to be of the wrong social or economic place on the ladder. But this is the message of this week's scripture, that Jesus did not come to take care of the comfortable people. He came really to make the comfortable people uncomfortable, reminding us that he is caring for the ones who need care the most, because that's exactly the way his Father deals with us and is concerned with us. And all this self-centeredness which we find within ourselves individually and in the church community and in our nation, certainly. Who do we idolize in this nation? Ball players and actors. We admire their wealth and their fame, and we even go and sit and watch them make more money, and we pay for it. Don't we? We pay to watch them make more money. We're crazy. But we'll pass the poor person without a second thought. And Jesus has come today, as in those days, to turn everything topsy-turvy. to remind us where values really lie, his Father's values really lie, and that's in each one of us, because all of us are down and outers in one way or another. We may be wealthy, but inwardly we may be very poor. So he tells his disciples, if you're going to be my disciple, you've got to follow me, even to the point of dying to yourself. He didn't die to himself, he died on the cross. But all he's asking of us is that we die to ourselves, which is what I think St. Paul talks about in one of his letters when he says, I die daily, because he was taking care of the needs of those who needed help. And this is nothing new in the church. Read that second letter, that second reading again. All those things that St. James is decrying and saying, this is terrible conduct for Christians. Same yesterday as it is today. But we're all called to take up the cross of selflessness and follow Jesus. It's nice that the Pope walks the walk and does all the things with the poor, but one man can't carry the Christian message. It has to be carried by each Christian. And if we're not carrying the message, then the question we have to ask ourselves is, am I really a Christian? Am I really a disciple, a student of this Jesus who said, you cannot be a disciple of mine unless you shoulder the cross in some way and take care of others? What a challenge. But we will go to the table in a few minutes to be strengthened to do just that.